They told me to shut up before I even finished my sentence. Not metaphorically. Literally. "Shut your mouth." That's what she said, standing at the front of the classroom, chalk dust on her fingers, a smile that never quite reached her eyes. Then she laughed and added, "Kids, like you don't come from families like that anyway." The room went quiet for half a second, just long enough for everyone to understand what she meant, and then the laughter came. Yeah. That was the moment I learned how small a person can be made to feel in a place that claims it's shaping the future. I went to a private high school called Ridgeway Prep. Old brick buildings, banners about excellence, alumni names carved into stone. On paper, it was prestigious. In reality, it ran on unspoken rules. Some kids were untouchable. Some teachers played favorites. And some students, especially the ones who didn't fit the mold, were expected to keep their heads down and be grateful just to be there. I was one of those students. Smart, quiet, always top of the class, but somehow still invisible. Until I wasn't. It started in history class. Ms. Calder, mid-50s, perfectly pressed suits that tone people use when they think they're educating you but are really just defending the past. She was talking about order, about how progress is complicated, how not everything is black and white. Funny choice of words, right? When she brushed past slavery like it was an unfortunate typo in an otherwise noble story, I raised my hand. I didn't shout. I didn't accuse. I just said that order built on suffering isn't order, it's exploitation. That the people erased from the story mattered. The room tightened. You could feel it. One girl in the front row smirked. A couple of guys in varsity jackets leaned back like this was better than Netflix. Ms. Calder stared at me for a long beat, then smiled thinly and said, "We're here to discuss facts, not emotions." I told her naming harm isn't emotional, it's honest. That's when she snapped. Told me Ridgeway valued civility. Told me to stop turning lessons into personal crusades. Translation: Know your place. Her favorite student, Lauren Hale, found me after the bell. Perfect hair, perfect teeth, parents on the board, kind of perfect. She blocked my locker, glanced at the notebook I always carried, the old one with the cracked leather cover. She grabbed it before I could react. Flipped it open. Started reading out loud. Lines I'd written to my mom. About missing her. About being proud of what she did for a living. Lauren laughed and said, "Wow, you really think your mom's some kind of hero?" Then, quieter, sharper. "People like you always make stuff up to feel important." Ms. Calder watched the whole thing and did nothing. When I reached for my notebook, she told me to sit down and stop causing disruptions. Said I should stop embarrassing myself with fantasies. That was the day I realized it wasn't just students. It was the system. After that, things escalated fast. Whispers in the hall. Phones pointed my way. Lauren and her two shadows, both football players built like trucks and twice as loud, started following me around. Calling me names. Mocking my family. One afternoon, they cornered me near the back parking lot, knocked my lunch tray out of my hands, told me to call my imaginary hero mom to come save me. People walked by. Some stared. No one stopped. I hid in a stairwell, shaking so hard I could barely dial my phone. I called my mom. She didn't answer. Left a voicemail I still can't listen to without feeling that tightness in my chest. I told her I needed her, that I didn't feel safe, that I was trying so hard not to break. The next trap was quieter. A girl I barely knew told me a teacher wanted to see me. Room 214. I didn't question it. I just wanted the day to end. The door clicked shut behind me. That sound still echoes in my head sometimes. Lauren was sitting on a desk phone already up. The boys blocked the exit. They laughed. Told me to prove my stories were real. Told me to take off my jacket. When I told them to back off, one of them grabbed my arm. That's when instinct kicked in. My mom had taught me how to break a grip. I landed one clean hit. For one glorious second, I thought I could get away. I couldn't. They slammed me onto a desk, held me down. Lauren filmed everything, narrating like this was content. I screamed. The door opened, and for a heartbeat I thought help had arrived. It was Ms. Calder. She looked at the scene, took it all in, and instead of stopping it, she closed the door, told me I was violent, said this is what happens when people like me don't know their limits. Then she leaned in close and said, "Your mother isn't who you say she is," and she spat in my face. That's when the door didn't open. It shattered. The impact was deafening. Wood splintered. Dust filled the room. Heavy boots hit the floor in a rhythm that made everything else stop. My mom stood there. Real. Solid. Calm in a way that terrified everyone else in the room. She crossed straight to me, knelt, wiped my face, and said, "I've got you." Then she stood up and the temperature dropped about 10 degrees. She didn't yell. She didn't threaten. She stated facts. She ordered the room locked. She told them their phones were now evidence. She called the police and the school district herself. Miss Calder tried to talk her way out of it. Lauren started crying. The boys suddenly couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Power shifted. You could feel it. At the station, the story almost got rewritten. Almost. Parents blamed me. Ms. Calder claimed I attacked first. Lauren said it was a misunderstanding. And then someone unexpected spoke up. The custodian. Quiet guy. Everyone overlooked him. He said he'd seen everything, that he recorded it because he couldn't watch another kid get destroyed by silence. He handed over his phone. The truth played out loud. No spin, no edits. Charges followed. Investigations, too. Turns out, Ms. Calder had a past full of secrets and lies. The story she told herself to justify her cruelty collapsed. Ridgeway couldn't hide anymore. There were hearings, assemblies. Students stood up one by one telling stories that had been buried for years. The silence broke like glass. A year later, I stood on a stage I once hated, giving a graduation speech I never thought I'd live to write. When I finished, something happened I'll never forget. My classmates stood. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to matter. It wasn't forgiveness, it was acknowledgement. Here's the thing. This isn't a story about a villain getting what they deserve. It's about what happens when truth walks into a room that's built on denial. It's about the cost of silence. And the price people pay when they finally refuse to be quiet. So let me ask you this. If you'd been there watching it happen, what would you have done? Stayed safe or stood up? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue. Disagree. Tell your own story. Because the only way these things change is when people stop pretending they don't see them.